Welcome. This is the first video, and it's the one that I think is the most crucial to start with in the year. That's why I made it first, because it focuses in on what I consider to be the most difficult part of the CER framework, and that is the R part. Reasoning is the trickiest part, I think, for most adults. If you ask them why they think something or to think about their own thinking, they have a hard time because it's not something that most adults often do. Someone as introverted as me, that's really all I do is think about my thinking. But most students and most people don't do that because they are not afflicted with the horrible disease of introversion. So that being the case, we want to try to focus in on what is most important, and that is the reasoning part of this. And so I put together a quick graphic organizer. Really, there's no other way to say it. It's a graphic organizer that highlights what's most important. It strips out a lot of the textual evidence, and it really pares down the claim part, and really then you're left with only this reasoning part that connects the two. And quite frankly, I often give them these two and then have them fill in the others. And that's why I've colored these in yellow and left these white, because typically I give them these at the beginning of the year, and then they have to fill in the yellow ones down here in the bottom right corner. The template looks like this. So there's a little bit of a direction there for them, but like I said, I typically will start off the year by giving them these two, and then they have to come up with the link between them. And that's where my orange arrows come in right there to show that this is actually a link in a very important chain in physics and in most subjects. I often use this as well as a throughout the year as a very simple activity write-up. So if we look at, I actually have an example of that I used last week. Instead of having them do a formal lab report, which consumes a lot of time, and it is valuable, but it does consume a lot of time, and it really is something that they've practiced in a number of other classes, and so I don't typically do a lot of those. What this does is gets right to the heart of the matter and shows me a little bit more about what their thinking was, and that's really what I want to see. So here we have an example of an experiment that was done, or an activity that was performed by a student last week. Here's her graph, and you can see that she has put her circle around and an arrow pointing at the most important part of the graph. It's pretty obvious what the most important part of the graph would be there, but she correctly identified it, which was great. And then she came up with the terminology for the claim. Now, I don't want to oversell this. This comes sort of directly from her notes. So this is not really something that I was grading per se, because it's a claim that really anybody who watched our flipped videos would be able to come up with. So what I was really looking at was this part right here. And in particular this, everyone should have had supports. That's not really a big deal. We don't typically do a lot of experimentation in our general physics class that refutes a claim, unless it's specifically a misconception that I think the students need to sort of additional support in getting rid of. Anyway, she did write this. This is her notation here as to her thinking, and you can see it's pretty mathematical. It's related back to a formula, so really that was what she was trying to get at there. Ideally, I'd see a little bit more of the thought process there, but it's not bad. I mean, it gives me exactly what I was hoping to see in any kind of a lab write-up. And it's really all on one page, so it's very simple, it's very clean, it's very easy to grade. It's really a kind of did you do it, or did you get it or not get it kind of a thing. And so it's pretty simple that way. I put together a couple of other types of examples that you might use in your classes, and you'll have to bear with me here. It's been a long time since I've taught history. Once upon a time I was a historian, but it's been a long time since then. So I came up with a claim that I think I remember from history class. I didn't want to put any of my thesis claims in there because it would be disappointing to have to remember how much of that I've forgotten in the last 24 years. But anyway, so here I've put in a claim, and here I have an example of some artwork. And so I would expect the students to be able to use the artwork and then maybe circle put circles and arrows around areas that I thought were most important, where the evidence should be targeted, and then describe how that relates to the claim that I made. And in this case, the claim is man's view of his place in the world changed fundamentally during the Renaissance, not earth-shaking by any stretch. But it would be interesting to see what parts of this the students thought was interesting, was important, and then why they thought so. And so I would like to see what they were able to come up with that. I also put together an art example. And so, again, I'm not an artist, nor have I ever taken a class in art theory. I did take a class in art history, but it was a summer class, and I'm sure if you've ever taken a summer class that goes from 12 to 1 at college, you know exactly how well that went. As much as I love art, it did not go well. Anyway, so since our Milwaukee Public Museum has a lot of pop art, I used the pop art movement. It was a reflection of the values of the 1960s counterculture. I have no idea if that's true. I assume it's true, but again, I don't really know that much about it. So I put in some examples of the pop art movement, and then I would expect the students to be able to support or refute that. And then really I would be just only looking at these two boxes here. So it really focuses the students in on what I think is most important. And of course, as like all of these strategies, you can go ahead and tweak them to work best for what you want them to do. But I think you'll find that giving them these two, which they're already pretty good at, and having them focus more time on these two is probably a good idea. I seem to get better results in the long run, although it's a little tedious at the beginning. I seem to get better results in the long run. For, in this box in particular, what actually they're thinking about as they're trying to support a claim. So there it is. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be walking around. Thanks for watching, and thanks for coming to this session. I had no idea if anybody came. I'm probably talking to myself right now, so that's cool. Whatever, I could sing or break out the ukulele, whatever works. But if you are there, thank you very much.